Hello everyone, today we're going to be talking about what gear you should be looking at before tackling certain raids. So a good example is over here. We can see, I call this Black Tower because of the Korean name. However, we call the Skybreak Spire on the NA server. And basically, Skybreak Spire is a relatively outdated dungeon now. However, you get two very important pieces of equipment from this raid, and that would be the fire ring and the fire earring if you're a fire gunner like myself. But basically, you get your elemental accessories here, your ring and your earring. So even though this is outdated content, it is still pretty important to do it, basically because you want these accessories. The gear requirement to do this dungeon is not very high, mainly because there's a lot of people willing to carry because it is outdated content. A lot of people are selling runs as well, so you can come in with no gear basically, as long as you have the money to pay them. However, let's say that you want to progress through Black Tower the OG way, and you want to, you want to get your 12 people and you want to progress it together. So what you'd be looking at is your average DPS does not have to be extremely high. You could look at around like 50 to 80k on your average DPS and you should be pretty good to go. However, you will need to do the mechanics. But what the heck does that mean gear-wise? Gear-wise would mean that you probably want your Tiger Bracelet or your True Dragon Bracelet. And you don't have to max it out, but getting it maxed is obviously a plus. But you want to look at around a stage 6. As for your Oath Necklace, the new Oath Necklace does not have levels, so you will not have to level it, you just pick up the new Oath Necklace. You probably want your Mystic Badge and your Soul Badge, however not the legendary versions, you just want the regular purple ones. So for your Mystic Badge, for Fire Gunner, you might either want to go Enigma or Skyrift. I personally prefer Enigma, however some people do prefer Skyrift, depending on like what build you prefer. And then as for the soul badges, you can just go for the Holy Fire Soul Badge for Fire Gunner, and just the purple tiers, and you should be good to go there. You would like to pick up your Eternity Belt just because it gives that little bit of survivability. You don't have to max it out, you can just pick up the belt at stage 1, it does help quite a bit. Your gloves, you will not have a legendary piece of gloves, you'll just have your regular Hollows gloves that you picked up at Villandria. And your accessories over here, you should have the Desolate Tomb Ring, as well as the Naru's Sanctum Earring. These are also purple tier, and they are elemental accessories. Once you forgot all of those, your soul, your heart, your pet aura, these are really expensive to upgrade, so don't worry about them too much. As well as your weapon, you probably want to be looking at least at like a Baleful 9, but preferably a Baleful 12, especially if you have high ping, Players with high ping like myself, we have to overcompensate on gear because of our, because of latency, so it causes some issues for us. As for soul shields, you can just stick with the story soul shields that you got. However, obviously having any Black Tower soul shields would be nice if you could afford them. You can buy Black Tower soul shields. You can buy the first 3 for free without having ever doing this dungeon. However, you will need the Raven Feathers, so just keep that in mind. So that covers Skybreak Spire or Black Tower. Once you've managed to get into Skybreak Spire, you're just going to have to run this once every week, as you do get locked out. It's a 1 week thing until you get your accessories. Basically, you want to get your fire accessories, or if you're a fire element, you want to get your wind or whatever accessories. Just make sure you get them ASAP, and then you want to max them out if possible. However, if you do decide to max them out, focus on the earring first. So now you finish Skybreak Spire, what next? Next up, you want to start moving to Vortex Temple. So Vortex Temple is over here. It's called Temple of Illuvian on the US server. And it's right here. You want to teleport to Dasari Gardens Trading Post. So we're going to hop over there now. Alright, so now you've made it right outside of Temple of Illuvian, or as I call it, Vortex Temple. For the gear requirements for Vortex Temple, it goes up significantly. You need quite a decent amount of damage in order to complete this dungeon. The more damage you have, the more mistakes you can afford to make. So you want as much damage as possible so that your raid can clear even if you do make a mistake or two. So one thing that you really want is your Raven weapon. You want a Raven weapon at least a stage 6. At the very least, you want a stage 6. However, most people are gonna probably request a stage 9 Raven weapon. However, if it's like your own guild or your own clan's raid, and people are more than happy to, try to focus on learning the mechs, you could go in with a stage 6. However, stage 9 obviously gives you a lot more wiggle room so that you can afford to make a lot more mistakes. So there's that. As for your bracelet, you really do want to max out your Tiger bracelet now. If you can get this next stage, if you get your Divinity or your Starbreaker bracelet, that's a plus, but it's not required. You can just stick with a Tiger bracelet as long as it's maxed out. As for your Soul badge and your Mystic badge, again, it's the same. Stick with the purple ones for now. You really want your accessories, your Black Tower accessories, and preferably both should be maxed out. However, you could get away with maybe like a stage 6 ring and a maxed out earring. You could probably get away with that. As for your necklace, again, you're gonna stick with the oath necklace. Your belt, you want to put like at least a stage 3 to a stage 6 on the belt, mainly because it just gives a nice boost in survivability, because in this dungeon it's pretty unforgiving and you do take a lot of damage. And then as for your gloves, you don't have to have the king's gloves. Having the gloves does help a little bit because, it's more damage, but it's not required. However, on the soul, this is where things ramp up. You want to have at least an awakened ascending soul. Like the Home Moon souls will not cut it for this. You will start with a Moon Water soul or Home Moon stage 1 soul. You want to upgrade it. You want to get to at least an awakened ascending soul, preferably a true ascending. Or you can, if you're going the 1 minute cooldown soul, you can go to the Awakened Hong Moon or the True Hong Moon soul. Basically, you want to be in at least this tier over here, preferably this tier. This is a really big DPS boost, so you really do want to be aiming at that. As for your heart, it's not as important. You could just stick with whatever heart you have right now. You could be just like regular Home Moon stage 3 heart or whatever. However, having the true Home Moon heart does help a little bit, It's not a requirement, but it definitely does help on DPS. Then as for your pet aura, again, it's not required. However, if possible, having the awakened Home Moon pet aura is definitely very nice. So that is a couple tiers above. You'll start pet aura and you want to upgrade to the first legendary or the first orange tier, and this will help quite a bit. Once you have all of that, your soul shields, you want to have 8-piece Black Tower soul shields or Skybreak Spire soul shields. Again, you can buy them from the shop over here if you are premium membership. If you're not, you can buy it at the NPC that is at Khanda Vihar. So again, you want to get all 8 pieces as soon as possible. And after you get all 8 pieces, it's very important to reinforce them or to fuse them to make sure that they get the best possible stats. As you can see on my Twilight Temple piece, I have no evasion and my block is not maxed out and my HP is not maxed out yet. So this soul shield is not very good at the moment. While let's say we look at my piece 4 for my Vortex Temple, I've maxed out my HP, I've maxed out my block. However, my critical needs a lot of work. So maxing out your good soul shields is pretty important because it does add quite a significant amount of stats. So you want to work on your soul shields as well. Other than that, you should be good to go for Vortex Temple. And finally, here's the last raid that we currently have on the NA/EU server or in the West, and that is Twilight Temple. The English name is called Nightfall Sanctuary, but I'm just going to call it Twilight Temple from now on. And basically for this dungeon, the gear requirement goes up significantly. You want to have at least an Aransu 9 weapon over here, mainly because you do need quite a bit of damage here, and any source of damage in order to alleviate certain phases and in order to make up for mistakes, in order to push past phases, is very, very important here. So you want to have an Aransu 9 weapon. Your soul, you're looking towards something bigger. Like you could get away with a true ascending, but most people will be requesting you to have a true cosmic or a true transcendent. Obviously, if it's your own guild or if you're playing with your own friends and stuff like that, then you could get away with true ascending with true Hong Moon. Just keep in mind that you're losing quite a significant amount of damage with that. So there's that. The heart, again, not super important. You can stick with the true Hong Moon heart. Pet aura, you will need to have the legendary tier, so you will need to have at least the awakened Hong Moon pet because of survivability. It just gives you so much more wiggle room, because if you do die in this dungeon, it's the chances of your party wiping goes up significantly. You will want to have your Aransu Mystic Badge now, or your Dynasty Mystic Badge. You get this from Vortex Temple. You will want to have your Fused Soul Badge as well now, because you get your Divine Grace Stones from the third boss, which is Scion's Keep. And then you will want to have, again, your Black Tower accessories. You want both of them maxed out. I do recommend getting your Vortex Temple necklace and maxing that. Your bracelet, you're looking at the new one now. You probably will want the new bracelet, which is the Divinity or the Skybreaker, as you can see over here. This is the Divinity and this is the Skybreaker. You will be looking at these bracelets maxed out now, as well as your gloves. You will want the King's gloves, or you want the new gloves, the ones from Brood Chamber. You want to max that out. Your belt, the belt, you're looking towards having the Horizon or the Skybreaker. Probably the Horizon is better, unless you have the Skybreaker set because of this Sky Shatter ring. However, I prefer to go the Awakened Horizon. Just gives a lot more survivability and will help you a lot in this raid. As for your soul shields, you're definitely looking for at least an 8-piece Vortex Temple. However, the 8-piece Vortex Temple, you will need to start focusing on min-maxing. So you really do want critical accuracy on all the pieces possible. So that would be piece 8, piece 6, piece 5, piece 4, and piece 2. So the only ones that cannot roll critical accuracy are piece 1, piece 3, and piece 7. So those are the only 3 that you want HP, critical, and probably like block or defense or something, like a defensive stat, just so that you can survive a hit or 2. Other than that, all your other stats, you're really looking for offensive stats, because this dungeon does require a lot of damage, and you will need to have quite a bit of survivability so that you have that wiggle room in case you do get hit, in case anything goes south. Because if you do die in this raid, especially in the beginning, it's very detrimental to the raid. It basically means if anyone dies in the raid, the chances of you guys wiping goes up significantly. So just keep that in mind. But yeah, hopefully this video gives you guys a general understanding on what type of gear you should be aiming for, or what level of gear you guys should be aiming for before attempting certain raids. Obviously, this is just a very rough outline. There are a lot of exceptions to this, and you don't have to follow everything to the T of what I said. You know, it's just a very general outline. But yeah, if this video helped, I would appreciate a subscribe, as it really does help out my channel. And as always, thank you for watching. See you guys next time. Bye.
What can I say except you're welcome? For the heels, the